with our grandmas on this day of Easter. So good morning and good afternoon and good evening. My name is Sande Hart and I am the president of SARA. I am so honored to welcome you into this sacred day of Ish, a day of the divine feminine rising according to the teachings of the Mayan calendar. It's an incredible time to be having this call and to welcome you on this special day with Grandmother Flordemayo, Heather Hall-Dudney Stone, along with the harmonic wisdom of Miss Imani and Geri Littlejohn, two beautiful sound healers who will weave into this call sacred ceremonial sound. It is a distinct honor to welcome Grandmother Flordemayo's special guest, Grandmother Sasa. Welcome, Grandmother Sasa.
Thank you. It's an
Grandmother
honor.
Flordemayo wanted very much today to address the life and the light of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a clarion call to raise awareness on the disproportionate impact of women and girls on our planet, the value of our voice, and the power of our vote. This is a topic of critical importance and focus to address the patriarchy. And at SARA, every one of our programs and initiatives takes on the conversation of domination by midwifing in not what is coming, but what is here now. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and all of your wisdom. Grandmother will share with everybody more about the day of Ish and, of course, the rise of the sacred feminine on this special day. Grandmother loves your questions, so please drop them in the chat window at the bottom of your screen. And now it's my humble honor to introduce everybody here, and this will take just a few minutes. Grandmother Flordemayo was found at a very early age to have the gift of sight. And by age 4, she was being trained in the art of traditional native shaman healer. Currently, in addition to her independent work as universal healer, featured speaker, and women of prayer, she is the founder of The Path, a nonprofit dedicated to the preservation of traditional knowledge and of heritage seeds. Through her work with The Path, Flordemayo maintains a seed bank and holds gatherings to further educate and raise awareness of the importance of seeds. For without seeds of the earth in the hands of the people, our future would be threatened. Grandmother is the founding member of the Church of the Spiritual Path, the Confederation of Indigenous Elders of the America, Institute of the Natural and Traditional Knowledge, the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, Grandmothers of the Sacred We, and the Mother Earth Declaration of the United Indigenous Nations. Heather is Grandmother Flordemayo's eldest daughter. She is the only daughter, actually, and personal assistant. She's a mother and a grandmother. Heather is an executive officer of the program director at the social media coordinator of The Path. And Heather is also producer for many events, including the Gathering of Humanity and nearly every event of The Path. For me, Heather's deep spiritual wisdom, coupled with sensibility and intelligence and clarity of voice, inspires me and keeps me grounded. Especially when preparing for these calls. So welcome to you three, to both of you. Long before it was accepted and common for women to play the drums, Imani has been encouraging people to discover what they love most about themselves and recognize the potential that resides within themselves and our collective consciousness through this instrument. Ms. Imani has always been compelled to explore the ineffable and encourages us to become a force of nature, helping to bring more light, love, and beauty to the world with everything we do. As a leader and a facilitator, Ms. Imani instigates opportunities for people to experience the individual and collective sense of freedom and relationship with the divine through her drumming, singing, art, alchemy, ceremony, and collaboration. Ms. Imani is a grandmother and the founder of Soulfire Sanctuary and caretaker of the 18th Peace Chamber. In her bio, Geri says that nature speaks to us in whispers, on the wind, in the songs of the birds, through flute, song, and through music, through silence. The spirit that Geri brings to any setting, one has no choice but to float in between and above the words and really feel into the textures of any given environment. Geri really does play into the service of life every day, and she sings songs of gratitude to the land and creation, like sonic support for all life, musical prayers for the unborn yet to be. Geri's contribution is an invitation to settle into the heart and embody peace, love, balance, and harmony brought to us by the wisdom of the trees and her breath through the flutes she's been making for 30 years in sacred reciprocity. And now to introduce Grandmother Sasa. She is a lifelong lover of the earth and its people. She's a high priestess, dreamer, seer, and universal hands-on healer. Grandmother Sasa was born in central Maine to a father of Abenaki, Scottish, Irish descent, and to a Japanese mother. Studying for 20 years with her elder Cherokee medicine woman, Grandmother Nakai Breen, who brought the medicine hoop of life sacred ceremony into the world, passed the medicine on to Grandmother Sasa. The sacred ceremony came from the ancient ones, sent to humanity at a time that it would be needed for all healing on earth and people. So twice a year, Grandmother Sasa holds a medicine hoop of life ceremony. And currently living in West Ossipee, New Hampshire, inspired by a vision, Grandmother Sasa is the founder of the Rose and the Swan, a center dedicated to healing of healers, recognized, I beg your pardon, for humanitarian work, prayer, and ceremony. All of these extraordinary women travel the world to share their spiritual wisdom, and now through the grace of Zoom, that wisdom is coming to you and those who have been called to listen. You can learn more about everybody on Sarah's site, and I will be sending you all the direct links, everything I just mentioned, and a copy of the recording to your email, and anything mentioned on our time together. So thank you and welcome. Welcome, Grandmother.
Thank you. Beloved Mother, beloved Creator, beloved circle of light, beloved beauty, beloved umbilicus of the sacred prayer, beloved Creator, Mother, Father, Giver of all of this beauty that moves in a sacred circle. Beloved Spirit of the earth, heart of the earth, beloved Spirit of the heavens, heart of the heavens, beloved grandmothers of the four directions, beloved Spirit of the four sacred elements, beloved Spirit of all of our ancestors, thank you for the beauty of the moment, the light circle that I see in front of me, beloved Creator, a circle within a circle, reminding us that we, as humans, are exactly this. We move in sacred circles, surrounded by the spirit of the fire, the spirit of the wind, beloved Creator, that helps us to grow, helps us to communicate, helps us to bring out all of the sacred words that we hear from the invisible, that we see from the future, from the past, beloved Creator. We, at this very, very moment, on this sacred day of wish, each beloved Mother, we have been connected to the invisible, to all that is around us, beloved Creator. Thank you for the beauty of the moment. Thank you to each and every one of you at this sacred moment. Sande, I want to thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity again to come together. I want to thank my beloved friend, Grandma Sasa, beloved friend, Imani, beloved friend, Geri Littlejohn, and my daughter for all of the help. Thank you so very much. And I send greetings to each and every one of you out in the 4 directions. Thank you so, so much. So today we are speaking about Ish. Ish is a Mayan word, a Quiche Maya, that translates to all of nature. It is the goddess of nature, also known as the goddess of medicine, because she grows everything for us on this beautiful living planet. And she guides us through the flowers, through all of the plants. She guides us through the leaves, the branches of the trees, through every little thing that grows on the earth, whether it's something for sustenance, for food for us, or something for medicine, or something for us to use, whether for shelter, for keeping us warm. However it is that we are here on this earth, and we can be using all parts of nature, including for building the sacred fires. With the sacred fires, we are taught and we are told that the fire has been the beginning that has guided us throughout our lives, has given us the knowledge. It is through the fire that we have received a lot of our knowledge as children of the earth. In more definition of Ish, in Central America, we are speaking about the calendar. She is actually the 4th day in the calendar. And I'm saying she because the translation is that it is the spirit of the feminine. And the spirit of the feminine comes in what is called Nahual. The Nahual is the power animal. And this power animal is the jungle cat. She's the spotted jungle cat of Central America. She could look like a little ocelot, but she could also look like a big, big cat. These cats are incredible survivors. And so the beloved goddess reminds us that this is who we are. We are survivors of the earth. If we are in need of something to eat, we could climb the trees to get it. We could roam on the ground and get it. But the cat is the only one in the jungle that if she feels like having something to eat from the river, she can dive in and she can get whatever she wants, whether they are fish, turtle. She could even pull out a big alligator bigger than she is. She can dive for a long, long time, where humans would say, oh my gosh, she might have drowned diving underwater, but no, guess what? She wins. She comes surfacing with something that she has caught. She is a survivor and a provider for her family and for humanity. And every time we see her, we understand and we can relate that this is who we are. She is a gentle feline who can move about without a sound. She can walk across the earth. She could come through. It doesn't matter about her, whether she's in Central America. She could come up to North America. She could travel into South America. She is a traveling animal. They have been tracked throughout the Americas, and they have an incredible, incredible history of absolute survival. They have incredible instincts. Our beloved goddess reminds us that this is who we are, that we are walkers of the earth, we are terrestrial beings, and also her spots on her coat, on the beloved jungle cat. The goddess says that she is also a terrestrial being because she carries the heavenly stars on her back. And this is who we are. We're celestial and terrestrial beings moving within the agility that we have to move about the globe. And so this is a short introduction of Ish. And basically what she stands for and what it really, really means is for all of us to think about this for a moment, that Ish, the spirit of the feminine in the Mayan language, translates to our relationship with nature. If you can imagine the abundance of this inner knowledge of the beauty of nature and the way that it moves from cycle to cycle, as we move about in a period of a year, we go in from the winter to the spring, to the summer, to the fall. And each and every one of us go through this place of transformation according to all of these periods, because we are one with nature. And so the beloved goddess is constantly reminding us to think and to be thoughtful and to encourage everybody and to be an example of how is it that we're going to walk on this life and be in harmony and in balance with all of nature. Thank you, Geri. To continue about the spirit of the feminine, Ish, and also our relationship, how to keep ourselves in balance with all that there is. When the goddess is speaking to us about balance, she is also speaking to the men. The women, of course, are carriers of life, but we could not make this baby that we carry without the men. So we have to bring in the spirit of our men. For myself, I have a husband, I have a son, I have a grandson. So I always have to bring the spirit of the men. I also have son-in-laws. And so I am constantly bringing in the spirit of the men, because even though the word Ish says the spirit of the feminine, but according to the teachings of the Maya, we are bringing all of that in, the men, the women, and nature. Some time ago, a couple of years ago, I was back home in my teacher's home, Don Alejandro. And at that particular time, Don Alejandro was doing a fire ceremony. We were all in the midst of prayer, and the fire spoke directly to me. And how the fire spoke directly to me was that instead of the flames being in the center, the flames kind of sloped to where I was, and it almost touched my whole body all the way up to my face. And my teacher heard the words. And it was on this particular subject that I needed to bring the word to the people about this sacredness of us being in balance with nature. That the symbol and the spirit of Ish was the carrier. There is signs are picked according to the calendar every couple of years, and one sign carries that energy. And sometimes we'll see a picture of a Mayan glyph, and it'll be like a face, and in the back it'll have a glyph. But what that is, it's the year carrier. It's what it's known. And so the fire had expressed to me that Ish was the year carrier and that I should talk about it. And so Don Alejandro said to me, daughter, you need to honor the mandate because the spirit of the fire has asked you to do that. When we receive a mandate in Central America, we embrace it and we do the best that we can by bringing it forward. And you know, we don't have to worry too much about what we know and don't know, because once we start speaking, okay, and this is where the spirit of the wind comes in, because the spirit of the wind will move through the vocal cords, and the spirit of the wind is like responsible for our sacred words and however we deliver a message. So we don't have to worry about that, because the breath, we're constantly breathing, okay? We just have to get out of this thinking and put it aside somewhere and just allow yourself to I'm just thinking of a word here in multiple languages. Allow yourself to just be in the moment and allowing yourself to be guided by these sacred elements. So I said to the fire that I was touched and that I would be honored, and that I would do my best. And of course, I thanked the fire, gave the fire my, here I am thinking of another word. There's something about, speaking a couple of languages that you just kind of get mixed up about one word, another word, or is that the proper word? Not the proper word, but anyway, so we feed the fire. So we give it something that is very aromatic, something that is, that would burn good in the fire, and something that we've been praying with. And in Central America, what we use is copal. And copal in Central America is the whole tree. It's not only the beads, but it's the leaves, it's the bark, it's the twigs, it's everything. We use everything, and everything has like a certain name, and it's used in a certain way. So I did that. I fed the fire with our sacred copal, and I went into prayer, and we were with a circle of seed keepers there. And I gave my gratitude for everybody, because when we are in a circle of prayer, when we are doing ceremony, we're all praying. And so it consists of all of us. And just like right now, even though we're looking at each other through the camera, but yet we are a circle of light, a circle of prayer, a circle of ceremony, and we're all acting together, and we all are moving in the same light together. So when one person receives a vision, it's because we have all been involved. So try to remember that everything is collective. When we are with more than yourself, even if it's one more person, the two of you do this collective sacred work. So I came home and I spoke to Sandy, and of course I spoke to my daughter Heather, and I started sharing about this mandate that I received, and I spoke to other people. And so the journey took me about maybe 2 years. But now here we are at this time, and it just feels that this topic about our role with the spirit of the feminine, we have got to keep talking about it, because so much has happened in the past couple of years around the globe. We've had fires, we've had cyclones, we've had water rising, we've had multiple fires all over the world, of course, but the whole globe is just being affected by us not thinking of nature. And so we have to keep talking about it. We have to keep talking about it to see if we can maybe just spark a little bit of something into someone, so that we can start doing the right thing. I feel that it's imperative that we as women, we have this incredible role in our everyday life that we can make a change if we feel that it's important, because everything that we do is for the future generations. Not only that, but we are the carriers, we're the seed carriers, the human seed carriers of the future generations. And so we have that responsibility, because we bring in the men with their responsibility. We inform them. And the prayer is that both men and women are taking on the responsibility of what is the best thing to do for the future and the future generations. I'd like to mention to everybody a little bit about what I've been feeling in my heart. And what I've been feeling in my heart has been the passing of our Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the reason that I have thought so much about her was that I was like reintroduced to her work in the past couple of years. And I started to think about the whole situation that we have, especially here in the United States. And what I mean about situation is that RBG was here from the United States, from one of the big cities. Young woman that, you know, was educated, and yet she battled to it seemed like with everything that she was doing, which her thinking was to make things better for all of us. And the hardships that she went through. And a lot of it had to do because she was a female. And how this is going on in my lifetime, in your lifetime, in such a progressive country like the United States. And it's got me thinking a lot about immigration, minorities, and the pandemic that we're going through right now. And a lot of things have kind of been surfacing on me. And all of this surfacing has gotten me thinking about, in my heart, what is it that I support, you know? Of course, prayer, ceremony, you know, living in harmony with everything around me, all of nature, trying to do what little bit that I can to feed the animals, to take care of nature, to do what I can do with my physical capacity. But then I started thinking about how old I was when I first voted in the United States. Or here's another question. Why is it that I never thought about it? Even though I'm an immigrant, I'm an American citizen, but I think it was maybe the whole immigrant thing in my mind that I didn't feel, you know, that I should be voting. For whatever reason, it just didn't settle in my heart and in my mind. And it was only this morning that I said to my daughter, Heather, I said, Heather, do you want me to tell you when it was the first time that I voted in the United States? And Heather's answer was, Mom, I don't want to hear that because it's going to make me very sad. I said, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. And then she blurted out, she said, you probably first voted for Obama. And I said, yes. I said, that was the first president in the United States in all of this time that I have been in the United States that I felt a calling to vote. And I'm thinking, I wonder how many people out there, men and women, feel the same way, that they don't have a right. And what is it about us humans, you know, that we think like that? Of course, there's, you know, the long history of that. So for the moment, I think I'm going to stop right there because, you know, I'm sure we are going to start having some questions here.
I think,
But
can I say something? Mom?
Sure.
Well, I think when you said that to me, it prompted me to really think of when you immigrated, you know, and what my grandmother brought you to the country as a woman and my aunts was really to say no to sex, to marry who you wanted to, which you've been married to my dad for over 50 years. And you know, I also went and I looked at, which I just want to read, and then I'm going to give the microphone to Grandma Sasa, is that it was only 100 years ago that women could not do these things. You couldn't vote. You couldn't easily obtain birth control. You couldn't get divorced. You couldn't wear pants. You couldn't join the military. You could not keep your maiden name. You could not own property if you were married. You could not shop without an escort. You could not work fair hours. You could not serve on a jury. You could not compete in a wide variety of Olympic sports. You could not have a passport if you were married with your own name on it. And that was just only 100 years ago. So after Mom and I had that conversation, you know, that's what I thought about, you know, and I thought about the legacy, you know, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg went through. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing it into conversation, which sometimes we don't do in these spiritual things. But I think that, you know, women are going to help shape where the direction of this world. So that's what I had to contribute. So thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to welcome Grandma Sasa.
Oh, thank you. That gave me a lot to think about right there. But my mother being Japanese and coming to this country has really made me a very strong, independent woman. There are a lot of things that she could not do when she came into the country. My father leaving her put her in a position where he had taken the passports so she couldn't leave the country. So he made a lot of things happen that we suffered greatly through, and leaving us in that. And as a woman, I can't even imagine, because she came from a very wealthy family. And she says it's one thing to be poor and become rich, but when you're rich and become poor, it's a different world. She had nannies, she had private school, she had all these things. And to come to this country in the desperation of what she was left was beyond. And so she made me and my brother very, very independent. And I thank her for putting a strong foundation under me, because I can sit without many things and it won't touch upon me because I look at it in a different way. And I think Creator and Mother Earth is telling us right now that she has been crying for us to, as women, stand up, come within this hoop of life, and be one with each other. And we have to be strong now. Times are coming into a great deal that we are looking at and focusing on a review of many things in our life. Where do we want to go with them? What do we want to do? And that to me was when I went for my last fast in Bear Butte, which is the heart of the heart of Turtle Island. It gave me the last part of an unfolding of who myself as a woman, what I could become, and what I should walk towards. Even though it's very, very hard for all of us to find our place and become that, we can do it. There's nothing that is stopping us but fear. And when we put fear up, it shuts us down, and we don't need to. What we need to do is open that door even further. It was like you explaining when the fire came up in front of you. You could have panicked and you could have fallen, you could have many, but you faced that fire. You became the fire and the strength, and you accepted it and brought it within yourself. Well, when they laid the 7 white feathers down to me, I had choices to make. And my choice was for the people. If we are for the next 7 generation of our children and grandchildren, then we have to stand up. We have to be that standing tree to reach out over this earth so strongly right now. And I see that a lot of people are having a very, very hard time. But if we give them that word of inspiration in the heart of hearts to move beyond, then they can go through that fire. They can make it. But Mother Earth is saying to us, we have to get back to our ceremony of life and do our prayers, build our bridge strong, because that's what's going to keep us here. And, you know, the other day I was talking to a family, and, you know, my grandmother and my mother taught me that our table is the first altar of life that we come to. How we set that and nourish the people is what makes them become stronger and open and loving to one another in the circle around that table. So by starting back there at our tables, which a lot of people were not using, and when I saw that and the children are speaking that they don't even use their table, I was really puzzled to think that families had walked away from that. But when I go into those homes and I begin with them again and explain their first altar of life that they have to come back to, and as a woman, grandmother, mother, aunt, it is our responsibility to show them what the altar is and to nourish them again and to bring them back to a place that they can be honored and loved like everybody wants to be. And so when you are bringing those children and families back and showing them once again what they can start with, that has been the disruption a lot on this earth. And when we don't put those protocol and spiritual laws into place, the disruption like we see. But it's going to take the woman, like they said in that 7th white feather that came, that the grandmothers have to come back to the circle and speak once again from our hearts with speaking the truth. And the truth is that we're all bringing that. And I can't, the honor of coming and being able to share that and being with my sisters in this circle is very profound to me. I've been praying and praying, and when the 7th white feather and the white eagle came, that's the 4th time in my life it has presented itself to me. I knew things were going to really move now, that we're ready. We're ready to come forth and face what we need to face. And the challenges are going to be many levels, because there are some that want to talk you out of it. Oh no, it can be done through science. It can be done through engineering. No, the base of this earth is our mother, and we have forgotten her. We have taken it in education to levels that we have forgotten really the earth and the simple basis of greeting it in the morning, laying our tobacco, and asking for the Creator and the Divine to come to us and speak to us. Building our bridge back together is going to make us firmly strong and powerful again. The grandmothers that came from the island across spoke about going back and bringing ceremony to the island again, because those are the places we're missing. So the Abenaki people went there, they did their ceremonies, and they're waiting for the grandmother to come back and begin it again. So it's this fall that I will take the opportunity, now that I've been invited there on the island through spirit with those grandmothers, to see what they want. This is the second time in my life that they have come to me. The first was in northern Maine, and they brought me to an island again. And it's where the women used to do their ceremonies and come during for the birthing, for the menses, for the medicine they needed. And the grandmother was on that island. And her name was Mata, the eyes, she said. She said she had been my grandmother before, and that I would be needed again and called to come forth and start sharing these things, because our ceremonies for the women need to come back. They need to be shared. We have everything that we need from above. All we have to do is know how to call it down and work with it. And this is the profound part of this circle today, is, meeting Grandmother Flordemayo has been, I prayed, and she has come, and we can work well together. Our spirits have come from that universe to bring something down to the people. Now we're going to share it with the other grandmothers and start calling the grandmothers in, because we can't do it by ourselves. There's a lot of things coming, and starting the school this fall is only taking 8 people to a time, but working all this information, 30 years of journals that they have had me write to put to the people. They're not mine, they're the people. And sharing that. And I think that feminine part that we need of healing is coming here for all of us. And there's a lot of love to be shared. Thank
you. Thank you, Grandmother Sasa and Grandmother Flordemayo. There's a lot of love to be shared. And what's lifted for me so much, and what listening to both of you just now, is a word that Grandmother Flordemayo mentioned, and that's, at first you said the role of women, and then you used the word responsibility, and the responsibility that we have. And I think it's so profound how you articulated, Grandmother Sasa, that what Grandmother Flordemayo did was she faced the fire. Not only did she hear it, but she faced the fire and accepted her responsibility. And for me, how many of us are right in front of the fire and aren't listening, or don't know how to listen, or don't know that they are important enough to listen or to receive this information. But what I'm hearing is every one of us have that gifted responsibility, not just women. And I'm so glad you brought up men, because it's so misunderstood when we talk about feminine and masculine. We're talking about genders. We're not. We're talking about those qualities of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Boy, oh, do we need the men. So thank you. So we actually we actually have a question. Would it be all right to ask a question now? Move into that? Great. This is from Angelique. Angelique asks, will we be talking about ceremonies for women? Would you like to say something about how to find out about how to properly hold a ceremony and what that means?
Is this question to who?
So it actually is direct. I'm gonna, both of you, or whomever would like to answer it.
Yeah. Sasa, I'm going to let you go ahead and then I'll answer.
The ceremony for women, for me, is every day in our Abenaki way of facing the sun as it rises to the dawn. That is a ceremony we all begin with, and we're taught from the beginning. And we face the west at night to give thanks for the day because we're going to go into dream time. A lot of the ceremonies that are going to be shared, to me, it's going back to the basic foundation of what a lot of people have lost is that basic. And then we can go into other ceremonies. The medicine hoop of life is twice a year, but I tell people it's every day of my life because I'm holding the eastern door of the energy for the people. And so it's done quietly, but it's for everybody that wants to share those ceremonies. I guess it's, what are you looking for ceremony? For healing? You learning for the foundation of ceremonies, or I guess, what are we looking for?
Thank you, Sasa. I would like to share that when I think of the word ceremony, okay, you got to listen to this, is what is it that we experience with every breath of our lives? Awaken or sleepy state, okay? We should not separate ceremony as something out there in the sky that's going to be brought down so that it could be done for a little while every once in a while. It's not like that. I like to say to everybody, wake up in the morning like you're ready for ceremony, okay? Do your hair, do your this, do your that, get yourself all dressed up and presentable and present yourself to the four directions before sunrise. This is the whole beginning. We can't think anymore that ceremony is going to happen, on a full moon, in the eclipse. We can't think like that anymore. We can't even think about the solstice, the equinox. Do ceremony every day. We're missing it. One thing that you should be thinking about right now at this very, very moment is that when we shut this computer off, it's called empowerment of knowledge. Take all of this, take it into your heart. Don't think about anything anymore. Put all that thinking aside and just do it. You got to do it. You need to do ceremony, do it. As soon as the computer is off, we're going to talk about certain things, but you gotta act. Behind the prayer is the action. And whatever little bit that you do, or big thing that you do, you just have to initiate it. And it's no more time. We're past the 11th hour, okay? Humanity is at a crossroads, okay? You have to make a decision at this point, which way are you gonna go, okay? We're at that moment right now. It's like the voting, okay? Who are you gonna vote for? It doesn't matter, you just gotta go vote and you gotta go in one direction. But this is where we are right now. I'm encouraging everybody to get up and move.
Thank you. Thank you so much, grandmothers. There's so much there. And I so appreciate you bringing in Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg into this conversation, because, you know, one thing that was so profound when I went to really know her more on a different level, and I loved it when there was an interview of her granddaughter, and she says, well, what do you call what do you call her? And she said, Bubby, which is a Yiddish term for a Jewish term for grandmother. I'm a Bubby. And that just made me go look into more about who she was as a woman, rather than this professional being who her literal last wish was for the betterment of what would serve women and girls ultimately. And we believe that when you improve conditions for women and girls, you improve conditions for all of humanity. So that's why we focus there here at Sarah. But one thing I learned about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that her mother empowered her to not only an important education, but to be independent, which we heard from you. So I thank you for that, because I think that's so important that we remember the importance of not just our interdependence on one another, but to be dependent on one another. A question's come in from Elizabeth Berger, so I'd like to ask that in response to everything I just said here regarding being a grandmother. Do you need to be a grandmother or a mother if what if you're childless, I beg your pardon, woman? Is that deep spiritual wisdom still available? She asks, is there a certain path that women who have not given birth to children should take to follow this mandate? Thank you for that question.
I'd like to answer that according to the Maya. Okay. In the teachings of the Maya, we as humans go through 4 cycles of life every 13 years, from birth to 13, 13 to 26, 26 to 39, 39 to 52. That's the magic number, 52. When you are 52, you are what the translation, okay, so you're translating from Quiché Maya to Spanish, okay? And then from Spanish to English. And it's gonna sound really foreign, okay? But when you're 52, the closest translation in Spanish from Quiché Maya is an adult. So at that moment, when you are an adult, what happens is that you, whether you are a man or a woman, you have the right to be a total monastic being. In other words, this is the time that you do the work of the Creator. And because you have done all of your obligations, okay? You've raised your children, grandchildren, you have done so much for your community, but this is the time where you go into that monastic life. And what happens in Central America is that when the people become of that age, that very, very moment that they become 52, they could say, family, I'm going to go and be with God. And nobody sits down and starts crying and saying, oh, don't go, you know, you got to keep helping us, you know, stay here. They go out and they journey, and they go on their sacred spiritual pilgrimages, and even travel around the world. So this is the definition of grandmothers and grandfathers. You could be with children, you could be without children. Not all of us are able to have children, but through your teachings and through your help, you know, we all become aunties, and we all become grandmothers and grandfathers.
Hmm. It's beautiful. 52. I wish I knew this 8 years ago. That is empowering.
Yeah.
It is empowering in itself. Thank you.
Because the definition is also that on your journey, you are in touch with children. You, throughout your life, you are in touch and you're always teaching. Even if they are your nieces and nephews, you are always in touch with children. So you become an automatic grandmother and grandfather at that age.
You do live through life and
Mhm.
have a certain, and knowing that actually, I would think in the culture would help to prepare for that time so that you were a responsible in what you were observing and listening to because your 52nd birthday is coming. I think that's a great culture we could adopt here. I do want to acknowledge Elaine Groman, who mentions that we have an opportunity to acknowledge that the term responsibility has a much broader meaning than we currently think. We've been taught that responsibility means yet another task, and that's not it. And I think that's what you were saying, Grandmother, that it's the true meaning is the ability to respond, response, and then the ability. And our ability to respond appropriately is the utmost importance. So acknowledging it, facing the fire, listening to the fire, realizing that, oh, I have something to hear here.
And then doing it.
And then taking the action.
Delivering it, taking the action, yes.
That's right. Thank you. Grandmother Sasa, was there anything you wanted to add? I don't want to.
I think, every culture is a little bit different. I was with a Cherokee grandmother, so I became a grandmother at 42, and she gave me the responsibility, and that is the word, responsibility. Sometimes she said we have to become older quicker because times are changing in the way they are, but it's still a responsibility once it's given. And so to carry that responsibility and do what we have to do is very important.
Grandmother Sessa, I wonder if you could share with us the story of the white feather and your name and having seen the 7th white feather and what that means. You mentioned that earlier, but can you spend a little time explaining that?
Well, my spiritual name is White Feather. And there was a time when I began with the grandmother, she told me I had to shelf the name till the name came in the way it was supposed to. And people were just calling me it, and I said I had never been named that. And she said, you have, but in a different way. So years later, when I did my last fast, Crazy Horse was the one that came to me years ago. And Crazy Horse, I had in another life, I had been with him. And we had traveled to Sweet Medicine Cave at one point. And so by going back there, that's where they showed me to go for that last fast. Grandfather Foos Crow spirit came to me in Crazy Horse and said that this would be my last fast. It would be the going through of what they call the 4 doorways of the dragon, and that if you made it through, then things would come forth from the universe and from this earth. And by going there to fast, on the second night, they took me into the Sweet Medicine Cave. And in 1932, I believe the Park Service had dynamited it closed and said that people didn't need to go into there. But in spirit, Fool's Crow told me, if you know how to go in, you will be able to go in. And so going in there, I sat with what I call a circle of 8 men, and they are the warriors that are on the mountain. And there was an altar, and they laid out 7 white feathers. And they told me when the last feather is laid, then the changes would come forth. And a little over a year ago, the last white feather was given to me, and the change is here. We are at those crossroads where there's a lot of the experiences that were happening right now have been prophesied, they said, for hundreds of years, because mankind is not respectable to this earth. It's lost ceremony, and we need to go back to that. We need to go back to the grandmothers, the circle of grandmothers, because they are going to lead us through this. And that the preparation from the universe for those 7 white feathers is really the respect, honor, trust, truth that we live for each and every day. It's like ceremony. Ceremony is from the time we go to bed to the time we wake up, even in dream time. As a dreamer, you go forward into the universe and you work there with the people as well as down here. And so the 7 white feathers are showing me, along with the white eagle, along with the white buffalo, that we are in a profound state here of walking ahead or not. There's no choice in between anymore. We have to move forward very strongly. The dreams have been coming tremendously again because the changes here on Earth. We're here in the Northeast in a drought. But the other day when I went to go over to the school, the first notebook and journal that I had carried from the grandmother was on the desk. And I thought, who left that there? And I opened it up, and it was from her. She had put it there. And she said, we have been in a 30-year drought and earth change that we are tremendously waking up to now. We're seeing what is happening here. And she said in those notes from 29 years ago that we had to wake up. We have to be responsible, and that one isn't any more than the other. Just because we carry the gifts like we are is because we've been responsible. We have listened to our teachers. Having a teacher is not a year, not 10 years, not 20 years. It's for the rest of your life. And this is what people don't understand, that when we give our life up to our teachings and our teacher, I was with grandmother 20 years, but in spirit all my life. And she will be here to follow me through with medicine hoop, which is given part of the white feather. The white feathers are a society from above. They have come to earth to bring help with the changes. I come from the blue star, which is to bring hope back to the people. But in the process of this, also, it got very hard after she left. And that's why I can say my sister answered my prayer when I met her, because you can't do this by yourself. You need your support. And you give your life up for your supporters. You do. The part of the samurai in me is that I would give my life up to the people, and I mean it. And we don't take the things lightly. And when our teachers, they are strong people. They're here because they have worked with us to help us remember. We have everything we need. They're helping us remember. And by memory, these are usually the teachings. She had me keep a journal for those 20 years with her because she said they are going to be needed as an imprint of what's going to come. And so I had 12 years of journals of dream, and then the 20 years with her of the journal of the medicine. So there's a lot of history here to bring forward to the people, because when she told me she came 2,000 years ahead of her time, I truly could see that, because I have never met somebody that works like her, because we really didn't talk. She had me work on telepathy with her, then go to the mountain and listen to the universal voices. I worked a long time going to the mountain to be able to connect with that and to bring down what we need. And these are things for all of us if we want to reconnect. It isn't just for one or two of us. Somebody has to lead the way. We're leading the way as grandmothers so that we can help the people. You know, somebody's got to bring them forward. Somebody's got to bring them back to the protocol and spiritual laws that they have been forgetting. They put it in with material things. And we all like that. Like she told me, I wrote in a note, I like running water, I like a shower, I like a toilet. Uh, that helps me each and every day. I don't want to go backwards, I want to go forward, but I don't need a lot of what a lot of people are showing as material things. Do we really need them? You know, the one thing she continued was reading books, uh, because I'm a record keeper. Those record keeping parts of this, of the white feather, came through the triangle. The triangles have been put back together because they had been disrupted. I started 3 years ago in Australia, have come across, you know, to the United States in 2 or 3 places, and the one in Alaska is fine right now. Uh, they're all in good places to help us bring through those masters that we need for teaching. So that is some of what has been given. So the spirit of the white feather, when we see a white feather come down, we know the highest spirits are there talking to us. All we have to do is open to them. So when you see that little white feather fly by you, know that that spirit is here to help us, make us aware or pay attention. Thank you.
You. Pay attention, I think. Thank you. Thank you, Geri.
Sandy, I wanted to share with everybody, and it came to me as Geri was playing the flute, that there's like a dual ceremony that we can do in the privacy of our homes, all of us, okay? We could have 2 containers of water, okay? And one container, you know how we do the offering, right? One container could be offered salt into the water, And the reason for the salt is for all of the tears that are being shed around the globe. Okay, we're going to go beyond the United States right now, but bring the globe together. So you have that, and you are honoring that. We're honoring all of the people that have been shedding tears or in a place of sadness. And then the second bowl of water, we bring the energy and ask the Creator to bring the sweetness into their lives. And so with the sweetness, we add a little bit of honey into the water. And that's the whole ceremony. Because there was a young girl that was asking, are you going to show us, or are we going to do ceremony? This is something that you can do, later on today. And those are the instructions, okay? Just to answer that.
Thank you, Grandmother. Yeah, you make it so easy and digestible when you think of it that way, that every breath can be a ceremony, but also the intentional action of actualizing our prayers in a way that's meaningful for us, that you can actually put salt in water, honey in water, um, and also perhaps look into your own traditions, your own heritages, traditions as well. It's a way of honoring your ancestors as well. And one thing the Quakers say is, when you pray, move your feet. But it sounds like what you're saying is, when you move your feet, pray. So yes, with the remaining time that we have left, and oh my goodness, how time flies. If anybody has any further questions, please drop them in the chat window or in the question and answers. And I'd like to offer this opportunity to share a little bit more about how to do, how to understand more about the Hoop of Life ceremony. If there's anything that you can share about that ceremony, Grandmother Sasa. And right now, with COVID shut down, these ceremonies, it's of course not possible in many places anyway to do ceremony in person. But is there a ceremony that can be done, that can be done online even? Is that possible? And to better understand the Hoop of Life, in the same question.
Well, the hoop of life is that circle around us. And all we have to do is envision that circle around us. And there are 8 poles of the 8 clans. And the center pole is the grandmother standing, doing ceremony. We do counterclockwise because we are of the feminine, and we're using the feminine energy now to work in the spiral of the universe. In the ceremony, which will be done a week from Saturday, just be with that moment. But to me, the hoop of life is myself every day of the year, and it can be for anybody. All we have to do is close our eyes and think of that spiral of energy around us, and the feminine energy is counterclockwise, and pray up to Creator and Mother, and things will begin for you. It's very simple. We bring the 4 directions in, the above, below, and within. Because outside we have a fire going, I say light a candle. And because we always have to start a fire to get the attention of our relations on the other side. And that begins our ceremony. I light a candle on my altar, and it's reestablishing your altar of life again. Everybody can have an altar in their home, a small space, and put your sacred things. And I always say, light your candle. I light my candles many times during the day and pray, because that is the hoop of life. The energy that's within that also goes with the water. The water is the aquifer underneath here. We're on one of the largest aquifers. Grandmother was given the Eastern Door from the Hopis of the crystals, and that crystal is also water. So we work with the water here, and we're very fortunate to have the mountains and lakes that we do around here to work with that energy and bring it in, because we are liquid crystal. What we put within our liquid crystal is our prayer, our ceremony, and our hope of life. And we walk into that each and every day. And that strengthens us and brings us forward to what we are maybe searching for, longing for, is to remember. And that was what she always stressed: remember, Joyce. Always remember. And I think each one of us are remembering something to bring forward. And we're searching for that because we forgot about it for quite some time. And that's why the mother has been crying. You know, the crying that I heard was, we haven't been listening. And if we all started to go into that quiet and that center of our hope, we would find ourselves again. And it's our love of our heart. Our first altar is in our heart. How do we go to our heart and begin that fire and bring it within ourselves so that we can start ceremony? And I think that's the beautiful, the story Grandmother told about that fire. I won't forget that. That will be in my mind. And, how do you bring that forward? It's like the water. The water is as important. After we do the fire, we have to have water. And in that, we do our blessings over the people. We swipe them clean in the altar in there, and then we bless them with the sacred water of the springs. And I usually use rose or orange, because those are the oldest scents there is on earth that we use. So we can go back to that part again. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Grandmother Sasa. And the word remember, in the same spirit that Elaine shared with us, the true meaning of the word responsibility, to become back into membership, to remember. We are here. It's already here. It's right with us. We just have to wake up in the morning, like you say, Grandmother Flordemayo, and do that ceremony to remember and face the fire and say yes. So before Grandmother Sasa closes our call today, I'd like to just remind you all that the urgent call from the Spirit of the Feminine, which was a result of Grandmother's call 4 years ago, Grandmother, that you had this mandate, and it was time to get the word out. And that here we are in our series now, and it is a series, and our next call will be, oh, and by the way, there's something that I didn't hear today on this call, and I want to make sure everybody understands this, is that Ish comes around on the Mayan calendar every 20 days, which is why our calls are on the every 20 days. So our next call is on October 12th with, is it the 12th? I beg your pardon. I'll make sure that's right. With Grandmother Pershil Amy, you might know her as Grandmother Percy. And that call is on the 14th. Good, I got that right. And so you can register on our website right now for that call. And that information, links to both grandmothers' organizations and websites, links to Ms. Imani and Geri Littlejohn's websites, and anything else mentioned on this call will be emailed to you along with the recording of this call. And I just want to thank you on behalf of SARA, the Spiritual and Religious Alliance for Hope Women's Interfaith Organization. Thank you for being here. Thank you, grandmothers. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Geri Littlejohn. Thank you, Miss Imani. And Grandmother Sasa, would you like to close the call? And then Ms. Imani will complete us.
I will say the prayer that was given by Grandmother from the universe for the medicine hope of life. Grandfather Chief above the heavenly stars, hear my humble prayer, O Great One. You are the giver of life and everything that comes with it. I'm but a small blade of grass in the vastness of Mother Earth. I ask for your guidance and clearness of vision so that I can see the beauty that you have created for us. Bless my hands, O Great One, so I, as your instrument, can do your work on the face of Mother Earth. Grandfather, let all the seeds unite in this circle of prayer, and let us all speak as one once again. Oh.
It's a gift.